Hey loves, it's Britt, and in this video I'm talking about what it means to have the moon in conjunct or quincunx to Mars in Synastry, the not so minor aspect, or at least I don't think it is a minor aspect, and especially in Synastry, the inconjunct is even more tricky than the square because it's a lot more going on under the surface. We don't tend to be having this external battle. It tends to manifest on a more unconscious level that can actually end up being more damaging than a square or an opposition in Synastry. So let's talk about the moon in conjunct to Mars in Synastry. Now, inconjunctions or quincunx to the moon in Synastry might be the most difficult of all because the moon is such an unconscious factor in our natal chart. The moon is our heart, our emotions, our inner child self, our instinctual reactions that stem from the unconscious. So it's such a very deep part of ourself, right? And it's how we feel. So when someone's Mars is in conjunct to our moon, we can feel like we can't get what we want emotionally or what we need emotionally in order to be secure and feel like satiated or satisfied, emotionally stable. Like the Mars person's presence can just have this subtle undercurrent of being off-putting and emotionally hard on the moon person. But it's happening at such an unconscious level that we just vaguely feel like the way that the Mars person acts, the way that the Mars person is sexually, the way that the Mars person goes about their life in their instinctual masculine energy, their Mars self, is just slightly off putting to us. And over time, we can feel that, yeah, like the Mars person is inhibiting us from feeling emotionally secure. Now, if there's other good aspects to the moon person, like this doesn't have to be a big deal. This can be a minor aspect if we have other beneficial contacts or easier contacts going on to our moon. If the moon is unaspected in synastry, that's really difficult, but if it's making many aspects like this that are difficult, like let's say someone's moon is just like squared to every planet in the other person's chart, that's a red flag. Okay, so this just on its own, it's okay. It doesn't, have to be the end of the world. But if all of the aspects to moon are hurting like this, that's dangerous. That's a red flag. The moon person is not going to feel emotionally safe in the relationship, okay? So, now how does the Mars person feel? The Mars person feels better than the moon person in this synastry aspect, I would say. But they also do feel that the moon is kind of a wet blanket or like holding them back. They're just trying to act, they're just trying to take the initiative. And this aspect, if there's other aspects going on of sexual attraction, that's good. It can mitigate this, but it does show that the Mars person can feel inhibited sexually. Like, so, and then on the other hand, when we have an inconjunct aspect to our Mars in synastry, we can feel sexually blocked or frustrated, or like our moves or our mojo, it's not received by the other person, and we're not sure why. Like, we can't really put our finger on what it is that's being rejected, but we do feel like our masculine ego, our like Mars principle, is just sort of thwarted or blocked, right? So when it's moon being in conjunct to someone's Mars, we can feel like there's just this feeling of like we try to get them or pursue them, or even just like we try to go after something in our own life, and then there's the moon person just being all emotional in a weird way that we don't understand because it's the inconjunct quincunx aspect, so we don't have anything in common. We're not like opposites attract. We're like aliens. Like we don't even know what the F this person is going on about. And so the moon person's emotions and natural self is just like the Mars person is just like, what like is this person going on about? Like I'm just trying to act, I'm just trying to make my move sexually, and this person is getting all emotional and I just don't get it. And the Mars person can end up feeling really frustrated, but because it's not as out in the open as the square, they can internalize it. And so the worst thing about this aspect is that both people can really grow to resent each other. But here's the thing, resentment, okay, this is getting deep. Resentment comes from unexpressed anger. So the reason you're resenting each other is because you're not expressing how you feel, because it's just too awkward, because this aspect is just awkward and weird. If Mars and Moon would just talk to each other, and hopefully you have good Mercury aspects going on, or at least something else going on, Moon Venus or Venus Mars or something to help this, then you can talk about it. And if you talk about your feelings, if you talk about why you're angry, why you're frustrated, why you feel blocked, and Moon talks about, why they don't feel emotionally safe and secure, you can talk about it, and it'll be awkward, it'll be a challenge, but you can be what the other person wants. It just takes communication. And in some cases, the communication, if it's not happening, one person will try to give up their need for the other person. That's what happens with the inconjunction, is that one person can end up, or sometimes both people can end up withdrawing their moon. Like, so the moon person just emotionally shuts down, or the Mars person just stops taking the initiative or stops pursuing them, So that can happen negatively. But if instead we could talk about it and talk about how we feel, that's what we need to do with an inconjunction. And even with, these inconjuncts in our natal chart, we can have this internal dialogue with ourselves like, hey, this is how you're making me feel. I need to express my moon energy. Your Mars energy doesn't really get that, but can we talk about this? And can we find a way that we can both express here? Then it can work. And, there is emotion here, because as much as we're different and we don't understand what the other person is going on about, we feel something here. We feel like it's important, and we're learning, because that is what these inconjunctions do, is they force you to learn. They force you to grow, because otherwise you're just going to feel so awkward and blocked. So this one is really interesting. It can be really damaging for the moon person emotionally if the Mars person is a more aggressive or assertive in a negative sense, too much onto the moon person. The moon person can really shut down, but if they can just talk about it, if there's other positive aspects going on, this aspect does add feeling. It adds passion. It's definitely, it's more passionate than having no Moon Mars aspect at all. But this one, I would say, is the most difficult of the Moon Mars aspects for sure. And I think that, like I said, the inconjunct aspect is the most difficult aspect in Synastry to have. So, yeah, I'd love to know your experience of this aspect. Was it like this? Was it not like this? Let me know in the comments, you guys, and thanks so much for watching. Thanks for your requests. Talk soon.